Are people constantly asking you to slow down when you talk? Or worse, just smiling and nodding while you fly through your words at breakneck speed and they're comprehending maybe less than half of what you're saying? If that's you, don't sweat. There's a couple of simple fixes that are going to leave you feeling like a master orator, totally comfortable in front of any crowd, speaking calmly, confidently, and clearly no matter what you're feeling or what the situation is. This could be happening for a variety of reasons. One simple explanation is that you are used to consuming a ton of content, and the pace that you listen to that content at is much faster than people's normal rate of speech. If you're listening to podcasts or YouTube recordings, audiobooks, you might be listening to this at 1.25x, 1.5x, or even 2x the normal speed. That's what you're telling your brain is normal for speech. The second reason this might be happening is that your mouth is just trying to keep up with your brain. The third reason this might be happening is that your emotions are coming through in your voice and they are changing how you deliver what you're saying. But there's a world where you are speaking at a pace that's engaging, never boring, and allows the listener to comprehend every idea that you are sharing, and you are clearly understood. Where you're able to hold on to multiple ideas at one time, express them in a clear, easy to follow sequence without losing your train of thought, and no matter how excited, nervous, bored, whatever you are, have your voice and delivery always under control. The first thing you've got to do is to get comfortable speaking well and slowly. So back to that idea of the audiobook. If we're used to listening to something at 1.5x or 2.0x speed, and then we are speaking at, pick a number, 1.4x, all we have to do is shift our own internal dial down accordingly to where we want it to be. So this means that if you are used to speaking at a 1.4x speed, what happens if you don't change a thing except for the speed and think about it as 0.9x or 0.8x speed? See what happens there. It's gonna feel really weird and uncomfortable and probably wrong, or like somebody who you're talking to is thinking, what's wrong with this person? But I promise it's not nearly as bad as you think that it is. Actually, it's probably pretty great. You just have to get used to what that feels like and get comfortable at that pace. Once you dial down the speed, then you're able to start establishing legato in your sound. This is also going to help you speak slower because you're going to get comfortable by default connecting the words and the sounds to one another. If I say that same phrase again, but without legato, connecting the words and sounds to one another, that sounds weird and choppy. But if I'm speaking more slowly, then legato is the natural byproduct of slower speech. The third thing that speaking slower is going to help you to do is to speak with correct articulation. Articulation is the muscle coordination that we use to form the sounds that produce words. So if you're speaking more slowly, any improper articulation is going to stand out and then allow you to be able to hone in and correct it. This is really pleasing to the listener's ear, helps you to build credibility and trust at the speed of sound, and gives you even more options with which you can vary your tone and delivery for maximum effect. The second thing that you've got to do is to get used to pauses and then get comfortable creating connections between thoughts, listening to understand instead of just responding to what you heard and jumping in with what you want to say. The most impactful way to do this is to change how you're listening. A lot of times what people do is they will listen and then at a certain point they tune out once they think of something that they can jump in and speak with that's going to make them seem clever, smart, or gain status in the conversation. But when you stop doing that and you start listening to understand, it then allows you to focus on asking something that's obvious. This works out in everyone's favor because what's obvious is usually going to end up being the smarter thing to say, and it's also going to help move the conversation forward in the most relevant direction. Once you lock this in and you're comfortable speaking more slowly, the next step is then to pause before you answer a question. Once you get comfortable with this pause, which is initially intimidating, that's going to allow you to gather your thoughts in a way that you can respond in that sequential, logical, relevant order. Once you're speaking at a slower pace, you're listening to understand, asking what's obvious, gathering your thoughts, then you just remember this and everything else is going to click into place. One breath, one idea. That's going to help you to make sure that your thoughts are staying in the present moment when you are speaking so that you're not worried about other things like what somebody is thinking of you. Did you get this correct point across? What else are you going to say? Grocery list. Are you sticking to your macros? Do you still have to go and lift after? One breath, one idea is going to keep you focused in the moment and give you the best possible chance to say exactly what you want to say, how you're hearing it in your head. Third thing you've got to do is to unlock your voice. This is key from getting away to speaking in a monotone fashion and also sounding commanding, authoritative, authoritative, and dynamic without sounding like you're trying too hard. When you start speaking in a way that uses your whole vocal instrument, it doesn't mean that you're yelling. It just means that you're speaking in a way that allows you to be maximally expressive with total spontaneity. This is going to create some positive feedback loops for you. One such positive feedback loop is that it's going to increase vagal tone. This means that you are stimulating the vagus nerve, and when the vagus nerve is stimulated, it creates a parasympathetic response, similar to breathing through the nose, that's going to calm you down. So once you've unlocked your voice, then every time that you're speaking with that unlocked voice, you are calming and centering yourself. And if you're not calm and centered, then when you've unlocked your voice, you know how to cue that calm and centered voice in, which is then in turn going to calm and collect your mind. Feel calm and in control, sound calm and in control. Sound calm and in control, feel calm and in control. And then once you've unlocked your voice, you've established and are relying and building those positive feedback loops, then all you need to do is just get clear on your subtext and intention. So when you combine that unlocked voice with comfort, with pauses, the ability to listen and ask what's obvious, a dialed down ideal speaking pace, you're unstoppable. Finding and getting comfortable with the ideal pace of speech, active listening, and building comfort with pauses, and unlocking the voice for maximum expressivity in communication is just part of what we do in the Tonality Training Workshop, where we match your voice to your message. So if you want to get a free tonality and messaging assessment so that you can be seen as one of one and stand out from your competition, leverage your unfair advantage to dominate your marketplace, follow the link below and we'll find some time to go over what you're working on, figure out where you want to be and what you have to do to make that happen. And I'll give you some strategies and ideas to position yourself so that you stand out and avoid commoditization.